So this often leads to the conversation, and we're talking about taking these profiles or putting IDs on people when we see them and matching it together and everything. And it leads to a lot of conversations that have already existed in the market. So the ecosystem is filled with technologies that sell profile matching. So if you look at what we talked about last training, those rented cross-channel solutions like Drawbridge and Tapad, if you actually go to their websites, they say, we have an 85% probabilistic match rate. They start talking in these terms of match rate, and it's starting to become industry terminology that everybody's using, and it becomes kind of a flag or like a banner. There we go, a banner that you sell with. You say, no, ours is 85 and theirs is only 70. But what we really need to do is we really need to drill home the concept that we're not selling matching. That's not exactly what we're doing. At least, thank you. At least that's not what our focus is going to be. Our focus is really for you to build that view of your customers. Now, so really, it's not about the match rates. It's really about the collective view, right? Because match rates, usually in the context of Drawbridge or in the context of those types of vendors, it's really between two different channels, right? It's mobile to desktop. That's not a unified view. That's two channels, right? A match rate doesn't apply to a unified view when you're looking at from a bunch of different angles. So we wanted to preface this before we even jumped into talking about what clients should expect from a profile store and how they should look at it.
So as we go through this section, really the key takeaways are going to be what our talk track is around matching as well as match rates, and how we want you guys to feel comfortable, like you have the right tools to answer the questions that you're being asked, but not necessarily get too deep into a conversation that you aren't prepared to speak about. So we'll go through it, and
that's mainly because, frankly, like, it's still an evolving conversation, right? It's still a lot of things that the terminology we're working through, and we're looking at success metrics today. But it is something that you're going to have to talk about, so we want to help you talk about it at a very high level and a confident high level.
Let's get a baseline, actually. On the phone, is there any sales folks on the phone?
Oh, because you're on
Anyone from sales on the phone?
Yeah, why?
All right, who's that? Dan?
What up?
Hey, bud. How would you answer today when someone asked you point blank, what's your match rate? What's the short answer there?
The short answer there is that most agencies and advertisers are using every matching vendor in the space to get a collective match rate that's around 30 to 40%, and that's the best that the industry has today. If you want to activate, if you want matching like straight out of the gate that does not have hooks, like that's what you do. If you want to own your data and build a proprietary or co-opted matching approach, then that's something that we will help you do, but it's not going to give you a 30% match rate tomorrow. It's going to take some time to do that.
Cool.
And it will be much more quality than what is out there today, which is basically matching on dating sites and recipes.
That's pretty good.
All right, cool. All right.
I'm impressed with that.
Yeah, we're gonna go deep in now into some of the things about what we do and how we do it.
Yeah, so remember, the conversation isn't around matching. The conversation is around the ownership and the development of what we're calling your profile store. And as profile store sits in our ecosystem, it covers that where that Fuse ID used to be. You guys probably saw that earlier in the last training, but that's where it's really sitting. Okay, so this is a sample image of what a client could receive. I want you to ignore this profile store here. This is the results and the title and that.
we're supposed to take the word profile store out of this slide.
Okay, so the goal here is for when the client, especially in a measurement use case, right? The client, let's say the warehousing events, right? They're just trying to assimilate all the information, all the actions that a customer's taken, all of the attributes that are associated with that customer coming in from CRM data. When they collect it all to them, this is something that they should be able to come up with right here, right? And then here, they're able to tie those two behaviors or attributes together using common ID. We can breeze over this terminology here.
Yeah, well, so what this is, just to be really clear, it's a sample table of what the data is that flows through our system.
Right.
So it flows through in an event-like fashion. So for example, the top row is an ad impression, you get the ad view information, what campaign it is, and we attach an ID to it. And that is really the common key that we come up with for unified view. So this is just a sample of what the data looks like as it's flowing through our system.
Right. And we did have some terminology built around this. What we realized in the last training is that there has to be some continuous conversation around it. As you guys know, matching is a pretty complex thing, especially as it pertains to our profile stores. So just know that all this terminology and everything, it is coming for you. But it's something that we're still working through.
Yeah, and just this is not a deliverable for clients, this chart. This is just to give you guys a contextual understanding of how the data is flowing through the system and how we key off of an ID in order to create the match.
Yep, and let me broadly address it. So, how do you first register an ID on a user, right? So let's say we have a customer, a client, Nordstrom, and they decide that they want to start building their profile store, right? So anytime they see a user on those enabled channels, on enabled data collection channels, let's say they have the ad impression pixel, where if the ad impression is served in front of a user, that user, boom, that browser has an ID. Everyone cool with that? And an event happens, boom, we ID them. Or let's say that CRM list is onboarded. For each one of those emails that comes in the CRM list, each one of those become their own ID, right? Now, later on, you have the CRM list that's uploaded with tomasrodriguez@gmail.com, and then that's been assigned an ID. And then when I go into Nordstrom and I log in and I authenticate, right? And I also authenticate with tomasrodriguez@gmail.com, then that browser ID is linked to that other ID that was given to the email on the CRM. And that email is that center connecting piece between the two. And that's happening on a real-time basis, and it's constantly happening. So what you're always trying to evaluate is like, yeah, I registered a bunch of IDs for all these people I saw with the ad impression pixel, or with the ad impression. But also, how many of those IDs actually have the authentication to be able to match at a different channel? So those are the types of things that we're working through. But that should give you a high-level enough approach to a matching.
Do we have any concern on the back end, like if we hired 5 new huge clients tomorrow with tens of millions of IDs coming in at the same time? Do we have any concern around that?
That's a really good question. I know YJ has had the YJ relationship has really prepared us for scalability and capacity. To give you an example.
The
Sorry.
question was about scale and capacity for IDs.
Right. So,
We, as a matter of fact, Matt Wolf has, and I have worked on a capacity event tracking system. So when new clients are actually being onboarded, Matt will, I think he's going to roll it out soon, be able to determine, is this a big deal? You know, should our ops team know about it? And then we bring that in and we track it. I work with ops to make sure that they're ready for it based on whatever date, you know, the go live is. So we've got a small process in place to kind of take care of that. It's more, we're much more sophisticated on the TMS side of things as opposed
Wolf
to
or Kemp?
Wolf.
Okay.
Yep.
So, phone people, the question was, do we have the scale to really do this if we had 5 questions come try to onboard tens of millions of IDs? And Steve mentioned that there's a project in the works to be able to quickly evaluate that every time a new client, or if we're getting to the end, to the close to a deal, we understand what it's going to take. So we feel confident that as it comes in, we'll be able to handle it. Cool?
There's a formal process being created, but right now we have more of an informal process where anytime there's a mass uptick in some kind of data collection that requires ID, for example, we just did a global sync return, we work through a process with the ops team to make sure that we're prepared to handle it.
And have questions of security ever came up? Are people worried about this getting hacked or
Yeah.
people gaining access to all
that's
data?
actually something.
Who would ever ask that? No one's worried.
No, that's actually.
Except Target.
those are
Except for our clients.
those are questions that I'm actually part of tasked with addressing. So it's something that our clients have asked. It's something that our sales guys, for the time being, they've been able to walk or be able to go past. But we are putting more formal documentation on that stuff. So you're right, there is crime.
So phone people, the question was, what's the issue of security, privacy, et cetera, and that's definitely something that the team's starting to think about more these days. It comes up in every RFP, it comes up in a lot of conversations, right, Brad?
Yep.
So
I mean, look, this is a sensitive subject, right? When you start collecting this type of information, people want to understand what it is that we're doing with it, what we have license to, it's their data, right?
Yep.
So yeah.
Yep. Also, last training we talked a lot about like why is Signal in the best position to do this. One of the points where there was privacy, leading with privacy. There are certain methodologies that we have that we put in place that other competitors definitely have not. That really solidify how we give our clients the control over that personal identifiable information that they have of their customers, and how we actually never even see that PII ever. We never even touch it. So there are privacy things in place that we use.
Yeah, the one thing that you can always fall back to as well, right? I mean, sure, we maintain kind of, but we've always done this, right? Our syncing with third-party identifiers, but anything first-party, right? If you think about it, the client's always in charge of that anyway, right? They're the ones that technically should be setting up the collection, the reading in of those IDs, right, within our data hub UI. But the question.
But to the storage portion,
yeah,
we're building cloud around that. Cool.
Okay, so what do we give our clients? What is the deliverable, and how do we evaluate it? This is an example. This is one sample that we put together. This was a chart we actually did end up giving to Craft and presenting it to them. And what I want you guys to leave comfortable with today is what is our evaluation criteria. The one caveat to this is to put this together, to get this, our system takes a very long time. This is not something our clients can generate on a daily basis. This isn't something that they can request and we bring back to them. This is something that we're gonna put together for Craft for like their quarterly business review. So just to give you context, right now, our system it has a very slow process to actually getting these numbers together. And what this actually is the co-occurrences across channels and how the channels relate and how many times IDs existed concurrently across channels. So I just wanted to put that out there. Oh, yep.
To get that out there, I'm gonna bite. Does this sit anywhere on the product roadmap?
Yeah, yes. That's exactly what was about to come out of my mouth next. So everyone is very aware of the need for reporting and enhancements of reporting, and that is something that is top of the list. They're trying to figure out how we can actually generate these in a lot quicker fashion.
I also want to bring up a couple of those things. Steph, I'm going to ask you another question. What are other disciplines of marketing?
Analytics.
So analytics is, I think search is a discipline of marketing, right? That was too.
What about analytics?
Yeah. You're back. I was kind of going to say it's search. JD, bear with me, guys. Bear with me. JD, what are kind of the success metrics that were associated with search when you were doing search?
Conversion rate, return on investment,
Right.
cost per acquisition,
Yep.
click-through rate, CPC,
Yep.
share of voice,
Right.
question volume.
This is one place where
Sorry,
I believe.
I wasn't done.
Or sorry, keep going. No, thank you for those examples. So they're very standardized metrics that you can probably use for all clients. This is where I believe there's a true line in the sand between our new discipline and everybody else's discipline. Where yes, you can look at conversion rate, and conversion can be pretty applicable across all different clients. But for us, it's hey, you are owning this data, you are matching and using this data cross-channel. But what are you trying to do with it? And then once you understand what they're trying to do with it, then you can back out success metrics after that. And that's what Kelly's going to show you in the next slide, where it's for Craft. They had a very select set of what they were trying to do. So Kelly kind of built out, strategic success metrics specifically for Craft. And it's looking like it's going to be that way for all the clients. Where yes, there are going to be some common things that we're going to be looking at, but it's going to be, what are you trying to do with that data? Oh, you're trying to do attribution. okay, let's find the best way, or the match rate or whatever that we have to hit in order to best solve for that attribution use case. And it's always going to be going back and forth between those two